Hi everybody, today we're going to do lesson 8-9 and that's solving quadratic equations by completing the square. So we have learned how to solve quadratic equations by factoring, where we factor and then we set each factor equal to 0. We have learned how to solve quadratic equations by taking the square root. Well, this is the third way we're going to solve quadratic equations. So why do we need all these different ways? Well, I'll show you. X squared plus 12x plus 14 equals 0. Okay, so here's our first example. X squared plus 12x plus 14. If I try to factor, well, I'd have to find two numbers that multiply to 14 and add to 12. 1 times 14, 2 times 7. Neither one of those would add or subtract to give you 12. So factoring's out. Can't use it. Okay, so we can't do square root right now because we have this middle term here. And we can't do square root if we have a middle term. If it said x squared plus 14 equals 0, we could have done the square root way. So this is a new way. It's called completing the square. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to get the 14 that's at the end here. We want to get that over to the other side. So we don't want a constant at the end there. We want to take out that constant because we're going to replace it with something else. So we're going to bring down the x squared plus 12x. 14 and negative 14 are 0, but instead we're going to put in a square. Okay? On the other side, we're going to have equals negative 14. Now we added a square to the left, so we have to add a square to the right. Okay, so now, this is a plus. Now what we're going to do is divide the 12 by 2. Ooh, I forgot the x. So you divide the coefficient of x by 2, and you get a 6. Then you square the 6, and you get a 36. What you do to one side, you do to the other, so you're going to add 36. What did I just do? Well, I divided the middle number by 2, which was 6, and then I squared it, and that's how I filled in my box or my square, okay, with a perfect square. 6 by 6, haha. Okay, so now I can factor this thing because 6 times 6 is 36 and 6 plus 6 is 12. So this is just x plus 6 written twice, okay? X plus 6, x plus 6. Okay, equals 36, 26, 22, I believe. Okay, so left side, now you could do the square root method. So we're putting a couple of methods together. You take the square root on both sides. That leaves you with x plus 6 on the left equals, and on the right, well, it's going to be positive or negative radical 22, which we want to break down. So I probably shouldn't have written that there. I'll do it over here. 2 times 11. Oh no. Oh no! I can't break it down, so radical 22 is the best you can do. That's simplified. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take away the 6 from both sides. And now x equals negative 6 plus or minus radical 22. That's my answer. Okay, that's my two answers really. Negative 6 plus rad 22, negative 6 minus rad 22. Okay, so we'll do another one. Clear that off. Number 2. We're only doing 3 and 3 today because these are longer. X squared plus 10x plus 7 equals 0. Okay. Ugh, I forgot the x again. Okay, so now this number at the end here has to be a perfect square. And it's not, so we don't want it there. We're going to replace it with that square. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. to get rid of that number. And we are going to replace that with a box, okay? With nothing in it for now. Just bringing everything else down. And this is going to be 0 minus 7, which is negative 7. But if we added a box to the left, we have to add a box to the right. Okay, now here we go. We divide by 2. We divide the middle term by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. We square the 5 to get the perfect square in the square, in the box. What I put in one box, I have to put in another. Okay? So now, if I were to factor this out, I can do it over here. 25 and 10. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 plus 5 is 10. So isn't that just going to be x plus 5, which we write as the quantity x plus 5 squared? On the other side, we get negative 7 plus 25, which is 18. All right. Now the second part of this is to take the square root of both sides. Square root and the square cancel each other out on the left. On the right, we're going to take the square root. Now what comes down on the left is x plus 5. And what comes down on the right, well, we want to break that down before we bring it down. So let's do 18 broken down, 2 times 9, 3 times 3. Okay, now we have a pair of 3's, and then we have a 2 stays in the radical sign. It has to be a plus and minus, though. Now we're going to subtract 5 from both sides because we're getting x alone. And now x equals negative 5 plus or minus 3 rad 2. That is our final answers. They are our final answers. Negative 5 plus 3 rad 2 and negative 5 minus 3 rad 2. All right, let me do another one. Okay, this one's going to look a little wonky. X squared minus 40x equals 100. Okay, so we look at this one and, well, there isn't a constant at the end. There's no just number at the end. It's not a trinomial there. See, what's happened is this is written such that the 100 has already been moved. Okay? 100 is a perfect square, but it is not a perfect square that would add up to, 10 plus 10 doesn't give you negative 40. So we have to find the right perfect square. So we're going to bring down x squared minus 40x and put a box in. A square equals 100 plus a square. Okay. I divide negative 40 by 2. I get negative 20. Negative 20 squared is 400. It's always going to be positive. So now I know that my factor is going to be x minus 20 times x minus 20. All right, so now what I did to one side, I have to do to the other. Oh, well, let's see. 100 plus 400 is 500. We take the square root of both sides. Okay? The square root and the square cancel each other out, and you have x minus 20 to bring down on the left side. Equals, we're going to break down the 500, and 5 times 100 is 500, and then 10 times 10. That's the easiest way to do it. So I get a 10 on the outside and a rad 5 on the inside. Okay, and that's a plus or minus. I have to add 20 to both sides to get the x alone. Okay, so x is alone on the left now. And on the right, you can't add the 20 to the 10 rad 5, okay, because they're not like terms. So we call this 20 plus or minus 10 rad 5. That's it. All right, I'm going to give you 3 to try. And then, yeah. Okay, so copy these down, hit pause, try them out, and then, I'll have everything written out for you when you're done. All right, here are these problems worked out. I hope you did okay with them, and we'll try some more of those next week. All right, have a good week. Have a good weekend. Have a good day. I miss you guys.